play.
Allegiance looked defeated in game 1. They've got game 2 to turn it around because their season is on the line. How different will they play these picks and bans? I can't imagine that they go back to early game, but at the same time, Salsa Squadron looked really clean during the team fighting phase. That's what their whole draft was built around. Fighting is 4 or 5, and you can see why just from their play. That's where they excel. Can Allegiance even beat them at this stage?
For Salsa Squadron, I think that most of the emphasis for, I guess if Allegiance wants to fight into them, a lot of the emphasis needs to be placed onto the jungler. iFates, or Younglad now, as he's named, he is one of those players where he's going to be hot or cold. And if you've known of this guy from the Challenger scene, he's always been at the top tier of the Challenger circuit, always performing really well. But when it comes down to the line, sometimes or almost all of the time, he tends to come up short. So for Younglad, this is going to be a really important set for him to establish, kind of break away from those in-the-moment jitters.
Athena, the first pick for Salsa Squadron with how well Mineral played it. Can't really blame him, though, with just, I don't have a lot of knowledge of this team. I don't, know these guys particularly well. I can tell that Athena jungle might be on the table for them, because if Younglad's willing to play that Amaterasu and play it the way that he did, I think it might be a decent fit, but may as well go right back to it. Sheyka with his soul as well. As Allegiance stick with the exact same first 2 picks, Osiris and Raijin.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Amaterasu is actually for Bruh. And the Athena, I would anticipate going to Mineral, no questions asked, because Mineral is someone who has always leaned towards this kind of Guardian pick, or his name was formerly Orphan. He's known as Orphan in the scene, but he is also someone that just loves his Athena pick, and for good reason, has a lot of execution that he can follow up with his team, and it worked out beautifully for Salsa Squadron in game 1.
Tell you what, Allegiance still has confidence, I suppose, because they would go with the exact same first 3 picks. This time they do ban away the Kernanos from Sops as well as the Jingwei. Last time they looked towards the jungle with their bans. This time it's towards the Hunter. Whereas Salsa Squadron, they do the exact same thing they did last time. They look at solo lane to try and force that Osiris into solo and weaken to a different pick. Have to see if it works out for them. Huyi, again, same spot for Metyankey, and Bruh's going to go right back to the Chulainn. Just a matter of what different Hunter Salsa Squadron is going to go for, because it's banned out from what they had last time. It's going to be the Skadi for Sops.
And I like this. I'm still not completely convinced. I do feel as though Younglad and Bruh might actually do a good old swapperoonie here, just because why not? But if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's also easy enough to be said. Amaterasu jungle worked out great game 1.
Good.
Why not do it in game number 2? Same thing for Bruh and the Chulainn. He was able to stay even with Cyclone. And I think the side lanes was probably the most important part about game 1. Bruh never fell behind. Sops never really fell behind. Sure, they got pressured out a little bit, but they were ultimately able to hang on. And when they brought it into the team fights, that's all that they needed to happen. It really just works out great.
Look, CycloneSpin being a level and a half, 2 levels up on Bruh early on in that game, just what you couldn't even tell, because he was hanging on to that lane very, very well. Batz the pick this time for Weekend, a different look than the Thanatos, and a welcome change to this team composition that I think could make all the difference. What were we talking about with the Salsa Squadron lineup? Team fighting, grouping, they play 5v5 so well. You have a warrior jungle that doesn't want to pick up beads. Weekend on Batz can change the course of these team fights with just by pressing 4.
I still think that my favorite part about Salsa Squadron's draft is this Athena, though, because it means that Metyankey is never going to have that pure 1v1 opportunity as soon as level 5 hits. He's always going to have to keep it in the back of his mind. If I aggress onto Sops now, I might be dead for it later.
And Sops has plenty of damage, even in the early game, with this Skadi. And look at the start that Salsa Squadron's going for. They're expecting Metyankey to come towards his own red buff and try and solo it down, but it's only NeiruMah heading over here. Last game, Metyankey started in mid and helped Oceans push it out, and that was a big reason why Thanatos got the first blood in game 1, because of Metyankey's rotation. And Allegiance is going for more of the same, but Salsa Squadron's switching it up. Sops got his red buff stolen last time, remember. This time, he's going for the enemy red.
This time, Sops wants to make sure that he has that red buff right off the bat. NeiruMah, though, not having any of it. Metyankey actually rotating just to make sure that they don't lose that buff. And now Salsa Squadron are just going to be forced into farming out the lane, which isn't a bad look. And they still have their own buffs available, meaning that...
Uh-oh, Bruh comes in and hogs away the blue, which means Weekend's only level 1. May have to use Purification Beads to try and get away from Bruh and Younglad here. Might not even help him if he does. Yunglad with that speed buff, weakened without one. Still going for it, but the minion wave there, enough of a deterrent. Keeps Salsa Squadron away from weakened. Metyankey forced to jump away off the permafrost from Sops. Was able to pick up his own red buff. That Hand of the Gods coming up pretty big for Bra on the right-hand side. Prevents the invade from going Allegiance's way.
That didn't happen in game number 1. Allegiance actually just feeling pretty confident in securing their own blue buff, and I can't blame them. It didn't really seem like Salsa Squadron would be able to challenge Allegiance in that invade, and Bra was just not about it.
Yunglad trying to steal away weakened speed buff, but not enough damage to do so with that reflective mirror, so instead just going to throw it onto Metyankey for some additional poke. 3-man split of the speed buff means that Weakened still only level 2 though, so even with the win that they get the buff, Salsa Squadron forces ALG into a spot where they'd rather not be.
Metyankey, though, has kind of just been forced to roam this entire time so far. And granted, we're only 2 minutes in, but it's still just so much free farm for Sops in comparison to Metyankey, who's kind of just been splitting this farm. Slowly but surely, Sops has developed a slight experience lead. And on Skadi, you don't want to see a Skadi hit level 5 before you. About
100 experience a minute in favor of the Skadi, at least until Metyankey got that wave in the duo lane. That was enough of a... If you were just watching the XP per minute charts, you can see very clearly how much these waves are worth to these hunters, even when splitting, like Metyankey did with NeiruMah there. He went from 400 XP per minute up to 460, 470 very, very quickly. But Sops is still going to be the first in the game to hit level 5 along with Bruh. So Salsa Squadron with a couple ultimates that Allegiance don't have access to.
Isolated hunters means all the farm in the world. Speaking of which, Bruh and Yunglad doing their best to proxy against CycloneSpin, meaning that Cyclone just isn't going to have the opportunity to put out so much pressure. He's still level 4. Both the Chulainn and the Amaterasu already sitting at 5. 2 pretty big team fighting ultimates online and ready to go.
Now, the biggest thing for Allegiance in this game is where the difference is with their team composition, and that's the Weekend is on the Hun Batz instead of the Thanatos. And Yunglad didn't pick up the Purification beats. He went for Sprint again in this matchup. How worried does Yunglad need to be about that Fear No Evil?
Well, based off his build from game 1, probably not that concerned. Right now, Yunglad is just going to have to be more worried about his positioning than anything else. As long as he's not grossly out of position or overextended, he should be just fine. But again, this is also going to rely on the fact that Weekend doesn't have that blink online just yet, so he's also probably not going to have as much utility out of that Fear No Evil early on.
Amaterasu as a character and her competitive viability has been really interesting to watch because Season 3, she's a top solo laner, mostly in my mind due to the players that were playing at Worlds, that they excel at Amaterasu. Scary D comes to mind first with that Amaterasu pick at Worlds. Then in Season 4, she kind of shifts to support. A lot of players are playing her in support. Emilzy, Jigs comes to mind when it comes to the Amaterasu support. And now in the jungle, not a lot of changes to this character overall. Why have we seen her in so many different roles in the last year?
For Amaterasu, it's kind of just flavor. It really does depend a lot on a play style, and all of these players just have different things that they bring to the table. For Yunglad, he prefers these kind of warrior-oriented jungles.
Well, this is one thing that she brings to the table. That's objective burn, that passive, that damage on the one for the whole team. Salsa Squadron utilize it beautifully. It does cost them 2 ultimates there between Mineral and Sheyka, but a worthy price to pay to secure the first Gold Fury of the game. No kills quite yet, barely even any invades. But it's Salsa Squadron with a 1,500 gold lead. NeiruMah going in with that Blink Cataclysm. Fear No Evil on point, pushing Mineral back towards the entirety of Allegiance, but Ocean's now forced to utilize that ultimate for the CC instead of the damage. He's going to go in, and Percussive Storm will confirm it. Ocean's doing quite a bit there to pick up first blood for Allegiance.
Ocean's had to risk it for the biscuit right then and there, and I appreciate that commitment from Ocean's because there is no way that AOG can expend 3 ultimates to come up short.
Even with the shell coming from Mineral, I mean, that's got to be a kill. Ocean's probably a little bit late on that ultimate, but I assume thought that he didn't need it because that was plenty of damage coming from Cataclysm and Fear No Evil, but being level 6, having quite a few stacks on that Lono's Mask, Mineral has some good HP in that build already, and it's finished off his Traveler's Shoes, so now he's going to be even more mobile than NeiruMah on the Geb. As Yunglad in a bit of trouble here, has to worry about where CycloneSpin is No Lord of the Afterlife to chase because a level 8 Chulainn lurking in the solo lane.
I think the main thing that almost saved Mineral there in that mid lane engagement is the fact that both Oceans and Weekend are only sitting on tier 2 of their boots. Had either one of them had the Pen boots or even the Warrior Tabi online, I think that there's no questions asked. Mineral dies in that engagement every time.
Cyclone not having as easy of a time as he did in game 1 with this lane. Game 1, it was those speed buff invades, the blue buff invades. He had a pretty substantial golden experience lead in the solo lane, but Bruh was able to hang out under tower and not lose too much on the 1v1. This time they're even, but it's the Chulainn. It's Bruh taking it to one of the most recognizable names in the SPL.
And that's kind of just one of the things that you need to do whenever you're coming into this sort of matchup and everybody's expecting you to lose it. You might as well, you have nothing to lose.
Right side of the map, tier 1 tower goes down, but yunglad may as well. CycloneSpin off the mark with that ultimate, and with Mineral's ult, might get yunglad out. In fact, he's gonna turn it around and find one as Bruh cleans up CycloneSpin. A 2-for-1 so far in Salsa Squadron's favor. Oceans goes aggressive. He's going to have to dash up and over the wall while Metyankey takes this opportunity to find a 1v1 of his own on the left-hand side, but it's Sops who starts to win it. Kaldir chomping down Metyankey, and Sops just needs one more auto, ring around the rosy, but Sops just needs the permafrost, one more auto, and Kaldir is there. 1v1 goes in Salsa Squadron's favor. They get 2v1 on the right-hand side, and the tier 1 tower as well. It's all across the map that Salsa Squadron looks like the better squad.
Sops with the excellent patience on his ultimate. He waited out until Metyankey had dropped his entire kit and committed that jump in. I'm convinced that Metyankey probably looked for the jump, ricochet, stun. That's the classic combination for Ohi, trying to aggress onto a Skadi, that low mobility. Speaking of which, Sops now in a little bit of danger. Weekend and Oceans making an appearance, trying to get out that Skadi, but it's not going to be enough.
Sheyka drops the ultimate to peel away. Weekend and NeiruMah slow as well, but Weekend still going aggressive, jumps in, but here comes yunglad, sprint popped, and he's looking for Weekend. Beads are good to keep him out of the stun from the dazzling offensive, but yunglad still on the chase. Big damage out of that mirror. Nice shield from NeiruMah to try and use it for the HP, but needed it for the CC immunity because yunglad picks it up off the taunt from Mineral.
That was just a damned if you do, damned if you don't moment for NeiruMah there. It's either he saves Weekend's life for a moment or he doesn't, and either way, Weekend gonna take a spill to that commit from the Amaterasu. So much was dropped trying to find Mineral on that disengage, but NeiruMah being just shy of connecting with that Cataclysm means that there's no follow-up possibility.
And Sops was low on health, low on mana, no ultimate, no beads. He's only level 11. He didn't have another relic, but Weekend's only level 8 and just doesn't have enough damage on the Sun Batz in order to find that kill. I love the pathing there from Sops. Weekend tries to jump onto him, as expecting Sops to back up and try and escape down the lane, but instead he comes up, and it was risky, but with Mineral waiting for him, ends up working out. As Salsa Squadron up 4-2 in kills. They're up 3,000 gold at 9 minutes. They've gotten a Gold Fury. Portal Demon's not even on the map quite yet.
Mineral, though, in a little bit of danger in that mid lane. Oceans and Weekend, alongside of NeiruMah, trying to 3v1 the Athena. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find anything out of it. Gold Fury, though, is due to respawn. Salsa Squadron have the timer on it because they were able to secure it at 4 minutes and 50 seconds. At ALG, really got to keep an eye out on this Gold Fury.
Sops going for what we used to see a lot of Skadi's go for is lane T1's already gone because of Sheyka's earlier push, so this is a risky pathing a bit from Allegiance, but it's yunglad who takes the majority of the poke. A lot of Skadi's used to just rush down this Transcendence, tons of power, tons of mana, you get to spam your abilities, all is well and good in the Hunter lane. But we've seen most Skadi's kind of move away from that. Is it just because Sops is a big lead that he's able to go for trans here?
He has a massive lead, so it gives him all the flexibility in the world to build that Transcendence. Speaking of which, Ocean's forced to use his Purification Beads just to get away from yunglad, Bruh, and Sheyka in that mid lane, and now that's going to be an immediate Gold Fury pull with how poked out Oceans is.
Solo laners have both made the rotation. This fight is going to be critical to the outcome of this game. It's big Cataclysm from NeiruMah, Fear No Evil as well. Tons of damage, but no one has from Salsa Squadron has fallen quite yet. In fact, it's Sops who gets the first blood in this fight. Cyclone trying to chase down yunglad. The sprint will get him out for the moment. Cyclone gets one, but Sop's going to find it, and it's an immediate 2-for-1 in Salsa Squadron's favor. Make that 3. Weekend fell as well.
And Ocean's now forced to use that teleport away. Metyankey doesn't have the Suns to help try and contest this Gold Fury objective. He's going to just look for it off of a bounce. Bruh, though, looking to zone away the Hunter, just jumping straight into his face. Oceans and Metyankey now trying to aggress onto the solo laner, but that means that nobody's there to challenge that Gold Fury.
That was the perfect start to that fight for Allegiance. NeiruMah finds 2 members with no purification beads with a Cataclysm. Weekend hits them both with a perfectly placed Fear No Evil, keeping them in that totem for as long as possible. And there just wasn't quite enough damage. Oceans, again, hesitating with the ultimate when that should just be 2 members are CC'd in front of me. Let me pop up and blow them up real quick.
I think the main issue there for Allegiance is that Cyclone just went a little bit too deep. Probably thought that he had a member or 2 from his own team trying to back him up, but instead it ended up just being Cyclone chasing yunglad around that Gold Fury pit while 3 other members were just attacking him.
And that's classic CycloneSpin, not overextending for a kill, but being that hero ball guy. He's the one who likes to dive into 4 members, get a kill, bring someone else with him as he falls, and he does it better than just about anybody in the league. It's how he made his name, is making insane plays, outnumbered coming from the solo lane. But hero ball doesn't work when you aren't ahead, especially when you're actually behind. And all of Allegiance is at this stage. So it can be difficult to kind of change your play style on the fly. CycloneSpin's proven that he's able to do it, but just that's not the fight to kind of demonstrate that.
And poor Metyankey now sitting 3 levels underneath Sops. That one early solo death to the Skadi has made all the difference in this laning phase, immediately giving Sops about a 1.5 level lead over the Hu Yi. Now NeiruMah, level 9, already getting aggressed on. Great taunt out from Mineral. Bruh's gonna look for the commit as well. Supernova getting a couple of ticks off onto NeiruMah, but still, the Geb is alive.
Nice Fear No Evil from Weekend. This time Ocean's quick on the response time up into the Taiko drums, but it's not quick enough as Bruh's gonna find NeiruMah, his 2nd death of the game. Yunglad zoned out 3 there all on his own and allowed the rest of Salsa Squadron to really take it to the support as Bruh in a little bit of trouble, gets stunned out by that Judgment Tether from CycloneSpin as Portal Demon drops low, but Salsa Squadron reset it because they want to take the fight instead. Lord of the Afterlife still available for CycloneSpin, but he'll never even get it off because Sheyka is going to claim his first kill of this contest. As now the Portal Demon re-pulled by Salsa Squadron. This one's going to go down this time. Again, Salsa has not lost a neutral objective yet this set between Portal Demon and Gold Fury.
They have had full map control, and Allegiance
This could be fire.
They're trying to do what they can. I mean, this is such an early fire, 14-minute fire giant. And
love this call.
It's going to go in their favor.
Because this is what Amaterasu does so well. She helps your team burn objectives. Salsa Squadron get it with help from the Amaterasu jungle and the Hog coming out of the solo lane. Salsa Squadron, look, we all were... You heard Ron on the desk. Salsa, he thinks they're going to win 2-0. A lot of that is because of a lack of faith in how Allegiance has been playing. We've seen why in this set, don't get me wrong, but Salsa Squadron has also impressed me on their own accord.
Salsa Squadron has definitely stepped it up. They look like they could be a team playing in the SPL at this rate, and all of these members really doing an excellent job to work together as one cohesive unit.
Mineral going to tank up this tier 2, not waiting for the minions, and has that Fire Giant sustain, but still not super tanky at this stage. That's why he switches it over to Yunglad, but look at Allegiance, just cannot afford to go in. CycloneSpin's all the way on the right-hand side. They give up another tower, this one the tier 2 in mid, and now Salsa Squadron just rotating over to the left. Cyclone's going to push down a tier 1 on the right-hand side, but I think Salsa Squadron could just get both towers here in the dual lane, and if that happens, Taco, I mean, Allegiance has to contest at some point.
Allegiance can't contest, though. Everybody's just so low. Their highest members are level 13, and that's Metyankey and Oceans. And, well, CycloneSpin. And CycloneSpin just hit level 14. NeiruMah's still level 9. NeiruMah has been level 9 for like 4.5 minutes now because there's nowhere to farm.
Mineral gonna dash in as the Phoenix Siege begins. Metyankey gonna drop the Suns as Weekend comes blinking in with that Fear No Evil. Mineral punished for his transgressions, and underneath the tower, a huge knockup from Bruh, but Yunglad is gonna be the sacrificial lamb. All right, Salsa Squadron, let's take a breath. All right, count to 10.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes in. Like, I get it, but come on.
Not quite big enough to dive into the Phoenix at 15 minutes, but Salsa Squadron are still doing a pretty good job, and even with that having happened, ALG getting a temporary breath of relief because of Salsa Squadron getting just a little bit too greedy right there.
But the respawn timers are so low that Allegiance, because it's so early, Allegiance might not even be able to get anything off the back of these 2 kills. Nice double bounce there from Metyankey, but he's the one who took the majority of the damage thanks to Sops' permafrost up and over that wall. Mineral's on the way back, but he's got Defender of Olympus in case something breaks out, and Salsa Squadron, they're pushing forward.
And Sops not wasting any time, just building into even more damage with that Brawler's Beat Stick. There isn't even a whole lot of healing happening for Allegiance. It's really just one of those items he's doing it just because he can.
Beads from Weaken off the taunt from Mineral. NeiruMah forced back as well, and Salsa Squadron, I love the way they've played these objectives. It's pull it, let it go. Pull it, let it go, and keep it leash and keep it low in case they just back up. Fake the fight, take the objective. It's only 17 minutes in? They're up 12,000 gold.
They're up almost, well, they are up 11,000 XP, but it's about to be 12,000 XP at this rate, and Salsa Squadron really handing it to Allegiance right now. Just no opportunities whatsoever for Allegiance to really come back. Sure, they had a couple of members take a spill underneath the Phoenixes because they, went too ham, but even that has not made any sort of impact or really delayed Salsa Squadron's lead.
This has not been the split for you if you're an Allegiance fan. I mean, expectations for this team, not sky high. I mean, no one thought they were going to be #1 seed in North America, but I think that contesting for a spot at Worlds was absolutely on the mind of the players and the fans of this squad. I know it looks bad, and I don't necessarily want to be reading Allegiance's obituary here, but what went wrong for them this split?
It was really just not long enough for either Metyankey or Oceans to properly adjust to that mid lane role, and Allegiance, more than anything, were really just missing that true mid laner presence. And like we've harped on it so many times before, Oceans and Metyankey, they are such mechanically talented players. You can hand them any god, and they'll usually do very well with it, but adjusting to competitive level mid laner with only 5 weeks of competition to play, it's incredibly difficult to pull off.
And it never really happened for Allegiance. They never really seemed to mesh as a unit either. I think not being on the same page is a phrase that we used more than we really should for a team of this level with this squad, this split. And you hope that these guys can either figure that out or find teams that can end up working together a little bit better as Portal even goes down for Salsa Squadron. Allegiance, they're going to try and push down this tier 1 on the left-hand side, claim themselves a little bit of gold, and it's much needed. Oceans is trying to get some solo farm of his own with these waves. Allegiance seems to have no interest in defending this Fire Giant, and when you're down by 13,000 gold in 19 minutes, probably the right decision.
It's just been rough stuff for ALG this split, and it's only getting worse by the looks of it. Salsa Squadron locking down that Fire Giant just means that they're going to have all the push potential in the world. They've got the creep wave in their favor for that right-hand side. So far, it's only Metyankey and NeiruMah looking to defend. Weaken just made that back to base. Bruh actually looking to mess around with Ocean, stop his back from happening. And CycloneSpin already committed to backing, so there's no one to assist Oceans in that left-hand side.
Right side Phoenix is likely going to fall. Oceans will probably as well. He's going to use the Taiko drums just to get Bro away for the moment. Try and get himself an escape path. Right side Phoenix is still standing, at least for the moment. But look at that 4-man grouping on the right from Salsa Squadron. Mineral goes in, looks for the dash taunt. NeiruMah gonna find the Cataclysm. No one really there to follow up, except for the damage from Sheyka. Sop's gonna be the one to find it though, as Weaken can't quite close the gap. Mineral still alive, and it's only Allegiance's support who falls.
Weaken trying to make it happen, but those in-hands just weren't connecting, too far away, and now Mineral, he back to base, he's coming back in full health because he's got Defender of Olympus online.
Right side Phoenix gone, mid Phoenix gone, young lad still up because he's got that sustain from the Amaterasu kit, from the Fire Giant buff as well. Mineral going to tank this up. Now, Salsa Squadron's last left side Phoenix siege didn't go particularly well, but they're a little bit farther ahead this time. CycloneSpin is going to go in onto Sops, not the decision he wanted to make. Sops gets number 5 for himself, and this one number 11 in total for Salsa Squadron. It's Bruh zoning out Oceans and NeiruMah all on his own. Yunglad gonna come in and assist. Can't close the gap and kill the support. But all 3 Firebirds are down. Salsa Squadron very, very close to putting a hard period on the end of Allegiance's season.
Almost feels like Salsa Squadron's playing with their food right now. They could probably look for the end with how long they still have remaining on that Fire Giant. Instead, they're all electing to back, kind of just let it sink in that Allegiance is 3 Firebirds down.
Well, Yunglad low on mana and health, and there weren't a lot of minion waves. I think that's the big deterrent there for Salsa Squadron to not end. They were backdooring those Phoenixes for the most part, and that really should tell you just how far ahead they are. I think Oceans just misses Hunter, and so he's choosing to spend his last moments of competitive Season 4 in the duo lane.
Can't blame him. And he's only level 13. He, alongside of NeiruMah, and really just the entirety of ALG, has just been completely starved of farm in both of these games. Salsa Squadron not only having control of the laning phases, but control of every single neutral objective on the map means that there is nowhere for Allegiance to turn to try and get that farm online to make their composition happen.
You want to talk about a good start to a Gauntlet run. This is basically exactly what you want as one of those bottom end teams, is 2 easy, quick games at the beginning of your run, because you don't want to wear yourselves out. You've got a lot of games to play. Now, it's not all in a row as it used to be, broken up into 2 days, so only one more game remaining, or one more set, I should say, for Salsa Squadron if they're able to close this one out. But they won't have to have expended a lot of different team compositions. Cryptic's going to know that they're playing Amaterasu jungle, but what else, what other information have they really earned?
And I highly doubt that Salsa Squadron's going to try and run this one back against a different team. This looks like more of an experimental draft that they use against a team that they feel as though they can easily beat.
Phoenix all down. There's the Blink Cataclysm, bruh, the focus, but he's not worried. He's level 19, only brought to about half HP, not even. Taunt in onto NeiruMah. Fear No Evil out from Weakened. Good damage onto Sops, who has to use the A. Gets it up over, goes CycloneSpin, but Defender of Olympus trying to get him out of there. Will do so, but Sheyka gonna claim quick 2. Triple kill. Cyclone all of a sudden cleans up 3 very low health members, and Allegiance keep their season alive.
For the moment, 23 minutes in, almost 23 and a half, and Salsa Squadron kind of just missed that one, just looking for the kills. I think that was one of those instances where the Challenger Cup mentality kind of just takes over. They went for the kills instead of the end. They could have easily all committed onto that Titan as opposed to splitting up and chasing off different members. I mean, poor NeiruMah was in the fountain, 10% health, and Bruh is still trying to Colin him down. I
mean, I'll be honest, that fight kind of caught me off guard because I figured Salsa Squadron would just go straight for the end. But as you mentioned, they slip up a little bit. But again, the respawn timers are so low. Everyone's alive again already. And with Fire Giant respawning as we speak, it's exactly where Salsa Squadron's heading. This does buy Allegiance a little bit of time, though. Right side Phoenix respawns, mid are going to be right behind it.
They are going to have at least 2 Phoenixes, possibly even all 3 Phoenixes respawn by the time Salsa Squadron finishes securing the Portal Demon and the next Fire Giant. Oceans and Weekend doing what they can to find what farm they can. Oceans even spot checking that red buff, but to no avail. Still 4 towers left on the map for Allegiance to try and handle, but if Salsa Squadron keep overcommitting like that, this could very well turn in Allegiance's favor.
They've got a long way to go if they want to come back in this one, but the seeds have been sown all the way on the left-hand side. Look at how far down that minion wave has been pushed. It's going to be a long time before Salsa Squadron has minion support on the left side, but on the right, that's all the way up at the Phoenix, and mid very close as well, so that's exactly where Salsa Squadron's going to head first.
And Bruh, taking those back harpies, not because he needs them, but because he doesn't want ALG to even have that little bit of farm to their name. And now Salsa Squadron, I like what they're doing here, where they're splitting up their force just a little bit, but not too far. Split pushing the mid Phoenix at the same time as the right-hand Phoenix is going to make things really difficult for Allegiance because they still don't have quite enough damage to handle that.
Metyankey not in the back of this team fight, instead are on the left-hand side as yunglad and Mineral lead the charge for Salsa Squadron as they try to end Allegiance's season. Draw with that transformation now has the capability to go in and tank that tower up pretty easily, but it's a sprint pop. NeiruMah going in with that Blink Cataclysm forces out the sprint or the beads from Sops, and here comes Weekend blinking in with the Fear No Evil, but Aegis was well timed, and it's Weekend who has to jump away. No ultimate hits there for Sheyka off that soul ult, but it's Weekend who's going to fall right next to his Titan yunglad. With that kill, Braun knocks up NeiruMah, and yunglad is still in the enemy fountain. That Defender of Olympus doesn't really do a lot as Oceans taunts in Mineral into the actual fountain itself. Cyclone's gonna get credit, and now he's gonna find another one. Oceans finds his second kill of the game, and it's Salsa Squadron again. The overcommit too deep into the enemy Titan.
They found a great pick onto Weekend, but then yunglad, one wasn't enough. Still trying to force the issue into that fountain, and that's just something that you don't need to take up.
But Allegiance just allows Salsa Squadron to walk in and clean up mid-Phoenix 3v4. I know there were fire minions on the left-hand side, but Metyankey had that taken care of. Someone from Allegiance has to stop 3 members from walking up and at least make them think about what they're doing underneath the mid-Phoenix.
And again, that could kind of just go back to the same communication issues that it feels Allegiance has had the entire split. It doesn't seem as though anyone from ALG notified another member, hey, defend mid. We've got the 3v4 advantage. We can actually make this happen. Instead, Salsa Squadron still able to walk away with 2 Phoenixes. And probably 2 of the best Phoenixes to take out. Normally, you'd want to take the opposing end Phoenix from the Fire Giant, but in this instance, I think it's in Salsa Squadron's favor to take that right-hand Phoenix first because they're going to immediately look for the siege off of that Fire Giant every time, and they have such a high enough pressure composition to punish Allegiance if they're caught out.
Well, Salsa Squadron has been a little bit undisciplined in their attempts to end the game, but they're still getting closer and closer to doing so. Items nearly complete for many of their members. Sops is completely full build. He went for a late Spirit's Robe to try and mitigate some of the damage off the Fear No Evil or Cataclysm, whatever sort of initiation Allegiance wants to rely on to bring him down. He has been the primary focus. Sheyka's kind of been left unchecked. He's only 2-1, but top of the player damage charts, and now that he's got Rod of Tahuti, it's time to go for the mid laner.
Having that kind of pressure over Allegiance is going to make all the difference here. Bro already looking to go in. Weekend committing the Fear No Evil on the back line, but still not able to find anybody for it. It's going to be Calder actually taking out Weekend.
Ocean's going to fall as well. Yunglad's going to get it. Metyankey Aegis in the fountain. He will survive as Mineral channels that ultimate onto Yunglad once more. As the suns come down, as Sops very low, and CycloneSpin will get yet another. He's got 7 of Allegiance's 11 in this one, as Metyankey finds a really nice stun onto Sheyka, continues the jump in, but NeiruMah bit off a little bit too much to chew. Sheyka gonna turn around on top of him as Bruh zones out 2 more members. A lot of damage onto all of Salsa Squadron, but not enough to bring down any more than 1 member. Sops the lone death so far. CycloneSpin getting shredded down by Sheyka, and Bruh's gonna get him. It's Metyankey versus Salsa Squadron. Allegiance's season on the line. He gets taunted, and he gets put down. Allegiance is done for Season 4.
And just like that. Wasn't just the creeps this time, though. It was at least another team in the fountain room, but ALG, unfortunately, coming up short in their first round against the Gauntlet.
It's disappointing. I mean, you look at, we talked about this roster so much during Season 4, and so many people had high hopes for them, but they're never able to put it together. They take an early exit. The first NA team eliminated from Worlds. Salsa Squadron, they move on. They get to play Team Cryptic, the 7th seed in NA. We're going to bring that set to you right after a short break.